When I arrived home and tried to open the front door, it was already unlocked. I wondered if my husband had forgotten to lock it when he left for work, so I went inside. However, I noticed something unusual. There were women's shoes in the entrance. They were beige enamel high heels. The moment I saw them, my heart felt like it stopped, and I felt a sharp pain. Maybe my husband's work had suddenly been cancelled, and a client was visiting, I thought to myself, trying to calm down. As I cautiously went inside, I could hear the sound of a shower and a man's and a woman's voice. "She'll be home in about 2 hours. So we need to clean up quickly."
I wish she wouldn't come back ever.
It was a man and a young woman's voice, and I knew for sure that the man was my husband. Suddenly, I became calm and went outside to call my husband. "What is it?"
"Where are you right now?"
"What? I'm at work, obviously." If that's the case, the men and women inside my house are strangers to me and would be considered burglars. I immediately reported to the police that there were burglars in my house. My name is Susie, a 36-year-old company employee. I live with my husband Tyson and our 5-year-old son. I met my husband when I was already past my 20s, and until then, I was a self-proclaimed workaholic. I was fortunate to find a job that suited me after graduation from college, and I enjoyed working with good people. Even when my friends started getting married, one after another in their 20s, I didn't feel any particular urgency because I was enjoying my work. When I was in my 30s, a friend told me that she had met a boyfriend on a dating app, so out of curiosity, I decided to give it a try. That's how I met my current husband. We both loved movies and could talk about them for hours. After a few dates, I started thinking about marriage, and it seemed that my husband had the same feelings, so we started dating with the assumption that we would get married soon. We got married a year and a half after we started dating, and our son was born the following year. When I was in my 20s, I thought it was okay not to get married, but now I'm grateful that I met my husband and was able to have a son. I never imagined how precious to give birth to a child and become a mother. We are a dual-income couple, and we share housework and childcare. I'm responsible for taking our son to nursery school in the morning, and my husband picks him up in the evening. Since my work often ends later than my husband's, he often cooks dinner, picks up our son from the nursery. Although my husband bears slightly more of the burden of housework, I think the balance is maintained because I have a higher income. We had been doing it that way until our son turned 5, but recently, my husband's work has become busier. He said that his employer was opening new stores one after another, and he was helping with their progress. Although my husband used to leave work at 5 p.m., he sometimes comes home around 10 p.m. now, because of the lack of manpower. "Hey, honey, you were late again today, huh? You must be tired. Do you want something light for dinner?" "I'm going to take a shower first." "Okay. Will you be coming home at this time for a while?" "How would I know? If waiting for me is such a hassle, then just go to bed first." That's not what I meant. Sorry. Due to his busy schedule, my husband's behavior has changed, and he has become arrogant. It's not just me. He sometimes treats our son harshly, and I can't stand it. I have asked with him several times to be kind to our son, as he used to be, but my husband refuses to listen. I used to believe that his change in behavior was due to his busy schedule, and I waited for his work to calm down. Since my husband's return home was delayed, I started leaving work early to pick up our son. It was more challenging to finish work earlier than before, but it made me happy to be able to pick up our son. Moreover, I had more time to chat with my mom friends, which was enjoyable because we were all busy in the mornings. We even started going out for lunch together on days off. After adjusting to this new routine, my mom friends invited me on a trip with them and their children. While I was excited about the idea, I felt hesitant to enjoy myself without my husband, who was currently busy with work. I told my friend that I would check with my husband first, and we put the trip on hold. On this particular day, my husband returned home after 11 p.m. Hi, I need your advice on something. Today, one of my mom friends invited me on a trip. Can I go?
A trip? What about her son?
I'm taking him with me. We'll be gone for 3 days, including 2 nights.
That's totally fine.
Really? You don't mind?
Don't worry about me. Just have fun.
I was worried that he might say no. So I'm relieved to hear him say that. The trip was more than a month away, but I was so excited that I bought all the necessary gear early on. The trip day came. We stayed at a hotel that specialized in activities for kids, such as fishing and crafting. On the first 2 days, we ate our way through nearby shops and restaurants. We had planned to go to an amusement park on the last day, but it rained and the plans got cancelled. After lunch with the other moms, my son and I left to go home. Instead of going straight home, I stopped by my parents' house. It's only about a 20-minute drive from our place. When I got there, I gave my mom some souvenirs from the trip. That's when I remembered something. I had received a lot of fruits from our neighbors and wanted to share it with my parents. I left my son with them and went back home to get the fruits. As I tried to unlock the front door, I realized it was already unlocked. Did my husband forget to lock it when he left for work? I walked in and saw a pair of shoes I didn't recognize. They were beige animal high heels. The moment I saw them, my heart felt like it stopped and I felt a sharp pain. Maybe my husband's work had suddenly been cancelled and a client was visiting. I thought to myself, trying to calm down. That's when I heard the sound of a shower and a man's and a woman's voices.
She'll be home in about 2 hours, so we need to clean up quickly.
I wish she wouldn't come back ever.
It was a man and a young woman's voice, and I knew for sure that the man was my husband. I felt like my head was about to boil. The way the woman spoke, with a stupidly elongated tone, only made me angrier. I considered barging into the bathroom to make sure she couldn't deny anything, but I didn't want to see anyone naked. Instead, I went outside and called my husband, hoping to catch him and the woman as they left the house. After a long ringing, he finally answered with an annoyed voice. What? He had been distant with me and our son lately, but now I understood. It was because he had been cheating on us. This realization only made me angrier. I had been considerate of his busy job, but he had been lying to us. Despite the urge to confront him right then and there, I tried to stay calm and asked, "Where are you right now?" "At work." "Obviously." "You're not at home, are you?" "What?" "I said I'm at work." "Why are you bothering me when I'm busy?" "While you're enjoying your trip, I'm working." "I'm hanging up now." "Busy working?" he said. As my husband hung up the phone, I couldn't help but wonder how he could speak so arrogantly when he himself was cheating. My plan was to catch him and his mistress as they left the house, but I had to change it now. If he says he's not home, then the man and woman inside my house are strangers to me and would be considered burglars. I immediately reported to the police that there were burglars in my house. As I waited a short distance away, several patrol cars arrived, and the police quickly took action. They stationed officers at the front door, outside the windows, and at the escape route, impressing me with their professionalism. My house was completely surrounded. For my safety, I was told to wait a little further away. Within minutes of the patrol cars arriving, I could hear my husband and his mistress screaming from inside the house. The police officer next to me informed me that they had been apprehended. A few minutes later, a police officer informed me that the man in the house was claiming to be the owner. I was instructed to call my husband, and when he answered the phone, he spoke to me in a voice that I had never heard before, full of joy.
Thank God, Susie. Where are you now? I'm in a bit of trouble. The police are here, and there is a misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding?
Yeah. Well, I was off work today at a home, but someone reported a burglary in progress.
But when I called you earlier, you said you were at work. And you know what? I was the one who made the report.
Huh?
Ignoring my confused husband, I hung up the phone. Sorry, it seems my husband was the one who was home. I told the police, and they exchanged glances as if they understood the situation.
Well, we'll handle it as a misunderstanding of the report. If anything else happens, please contact us immediately.
With that, the police left. Later, I made my husband and his mistress kneel on the living room floor. The mistress didn't even look up. I asked her to raise her head because I couldn't talk to her with her face down, but she refused, so I peeked at her. That's when I realized it for the first time. My husband's mistress was Jacqueline, a neighbor whom I had greeted a few times and whose child attends the same nursery school as our son. I had thought she was either a co-worker or a friend, but I never expected it to be Jacqueline. I took my husband's phone and her bag and checked their messages and pictures of their affair. Then I questioned them both. How did you two meet?
On a dating app.
So you were looking for someone on a dating app and that's how you found Jacqueline?
No, I wasn't specifically looking for anyone. I was just browsing the app.
You don't need to make excuses. Didn't you meet her when you picked up your son from the nursery?
Yeah.
Did you know it was Jacqueline when you contacted her on the dating app?
Well, no. I didn't know it was her at first. I only realized this after we started talking and met in person. I wasn't trying to target her from the beginning or anything.
Well, that doesn't really matter now anyway. When I hurriedly checked my husband's smartphone, I found a matching app in the app list. Looking at their exchanges in the matching app, it seemed that they were meeting twice a week. My husband had also contacted her during my trip, saying that they could stay at home during that time. After taking photos of all the exchange screens, I decided to call Jacqueline's husband. I unlocked Jacqueline's smartphone and called her husband, saying, I'm sorry to disturb you, but my husband is having an affair with your wife, and he's here at our house now. Jacqueline's husband was at work, but he agreed to come immediately. While we were waiting for him, my husband was sweating and looking down. Jacqueline had already resigned herself to the situation and was pouting with her cheeks puffed out. Jacqueline had a bad reputation, with many rumors of being late for nursery school pickup, or having neighborhood disputes. So I had avoided getting involved with her as much as possible. I never thought I would be involved in something like this. And I realized that choosing a husband who cheats with such a woman means that I don't have a knack for choosing men. About 30 minutes after the phone call, Jacqueline's husband arrived at the house. He was kind and tried to listen to what had happened without blaming Jacqueline or my husband. But Jacqueline was still sulking and my husband was just kneeling down. So I explained everything to Jacqueline's husband since there was no other way. After I finished explaining, Jacqueline's husband let out a big sigh. He said that Jacqueline had often gone to her parents' house because he was too busy with work to help her with housework, so he had allowed it. However, the truth was that she left the child with her parents and enjoyed her affair. I gave Jacqueline's husband the evidence of the affair that I had just obtained, and we exchanged the contact information. When the discussion was over and Jacqueline and her husband left, it was already late at night. I didn't want to stay in the house where my husband spent time with his mistress, so I quickly packed my bags and decided to go to my parents' house.
I'm sorry. I wasn't serious with her. Forgive me. Please.
While I was packing, my husband said that to me, but I ignored everything he said and left the house, leaving behind my husband who continued to kneel down. When I got to my parents' house, I told them everything. I stayed with my parents for a while and helped them take care of my son while we proceeded with the divorce proceedings. I hired a lawyer and filed for compensation from my husband and Jacqueline. Despite the lawyer explaining the compensation multiple times, Jacqueline insisted that she had done nothing wrong, and the negotiations went nowhere. I thought it was going to be a long battle, but one day she readily agreed to pay the compensation. I was curious about what happened, but I found out the reason from the close mom friend. The burglary at our house had become a topic of conversation because several police cars came and various rumors spread. I don't know where it leaked from, but the rumor that my husband was having an affair with Jacqueline spread, and Jacqueline became more and more the subject of gossip. It seemed quite troublesome to be talked about by the neighbors, so she divorced her husband and moved to a place where she didn't know anyone. Jacqueline's child was taken over by her husband. He intended to go to court for custody, but Jacqueline apparently gave up custody, saying the child was in her way. I was worried that it would be stressful for the child if his mother was gone. But I heard that he was doing well and was full of life. The only thing left was to talk to my ex-husband. I sent him the same paperwork requesting alimony, but he replied that he didn't have the money to pay. Even when I said he could pay in installments, he said he couldn't because he had no income. When I looked into it, I found out that my ex-husband had secretly quit his job when he started cheating with Jacqueline. Moreover, he had used my savings without permission to invest. He was planning to increase his wealth through investment and obtain a passive income. However, because he started investing without proper study, he quickly ran out of money and currently he has no income. I decided to claim not only compensation and child support, but also the amount he used from my savings. After a long discussion, I got my ex-husband to agree to pay everything, and the divorce was finalized. I stayed with my parents for a while, but now I have started living with my son. I resigned from my company and now work as a freelancer. Although my income has decreased slightly, I am okay because I have enough to get by. More importantly, I have more time with my son than before, and can spend my time meaningfully with my friends. I may have made my son feel lonely because of the divorce, but I want to give him a lot of love to make it up for it.